Good morning, everybody. Quite a lot to go over, so give me a second here and then we'll get it started. Give me 1 second. All right, let's start with the obvious. So the one thing that I noticed more than anything, and I think this is worth pointing out, this is what we've been doing all night. So since about 9:30, you had this huge spike in the debt ceiling limit that they agreed to not default. I don't even know what that means without even having a deal, but they're agreeing to not default. And I don't really know how that could even, you could say that without even doing something, but okay. If you watch that level, 13,880, I would just watch that as an intraday level. I don't think it's the most be-all, end-all level, but you're right in that area, and you're just going to kind of want to watch how you act there. 13,880 is what I would use. So if you're trading the futures and you're looking for an intraday level that you're going to want to get above before you get excited, or you're looking at buying options, watch that level. Make sure that, pardon me, make sure you don't rally up to it and then pull back down, okay? That's what you're going to want to make sure of, all right? I would watch that very carefully. All we're seeing right now, let's clean all this off, on the NASDAQ is that kind of action, and that is definitely a concern of mine, to say the least. So I really don't like that. I'm not really a fan of the higher high and then we don't continue. So this is, this is like a little, I wouldn't call it a red flag, but it's definitely a yellow. It's definitely got me on watch. I want to make sure that if we get down here that we hold. In the meantime, you can all see that 14,000 is becoming that new nemesis, right? If you go to the absolute top, it's probably much closer to that 14. So you can see where the nemesis is. We have to watch how we act when we come down to that level. But I would watch these levels very, very carefully, because if you break here, there's not a whole heck of a lot to stop you to free fall. There's some of these things have gotten pretty high. And, it's not unrealistic. Let's drop that there for a second. It's not unrealistic to have something like that pull back. You can all see the break of that channel right here, right? And you can, if we clone this, you'll see the channel really clearly, right here, let's call it, right? So pops out the channel 1, 2, 3, right? You can see your channel, breaks out, flag, breaks out, retest, tries to go, fails. You have to watch that retest now. So we're going to have to see how that goes. I am not crazy about this either. So let me just show you this. So if I drill into this, and this is from somebody that's very long right now, by the way. So if I drill into this, that's a negative divergence, right? So here you are, higher high. So I don't know how that plays out. Now, the good thing about it is you're pretty much almost through. Right, so maybe there's a couple hours of pain. I'm not really sure, but you're almost down to these levels where you're at a trough level. So you're almost working that off. Now, some names are responding to that selling, and other names could care less. So Tesla was down earlier. Let's take a look. Yeah, you're still down about $1. It's not really falling apart, but you're down about $1 there. But other names started to try to rally a little bit. AMD's actually up now from the close. So if you go there and just take a look at the close on AMD, you closed right around that 108. You're already at 108.10. AMD flips this 109.40 level. Just FYI, while I have everybody. Now I'm going to get to it on a 4-hour. So if you flip that level, it's on. This can run again. So don't think it can't run because you're here. It just means that it can just push higher, which it's done in the past. It doesn't mean that, you get crazy, but You might want to pay attention to that. You can see your negative or your positive divergence down here and how you acted. But what I'm getting at is if we take a look at this, you get through there, your next really big peak is like 125. So I don't know, maybe that's possible with something like, the earnings that are coming out on NVIDIA, and then it's over some time you can get there. I don't expect you to get there fast, but I would pay attention to that level. I would pay attention to how that's going. I'd also pay attention to the fact that you usually hit a high up here and then you pull back for a couple of days to a week. So that would not be surprising to do that again here. So just, play the hand that you're dealt, and let's see how it goes, and we'll go from there. But let's talk about the ES and our nemesis. So this 4,200, we just keep expecting to break it. Again, this is a 4-hour chart, but we just keep expecting to break that 4 hours, and we're not doing it. So you can see here where we are right now that we're mapped out there, just like when you looked at this AMD, you can kind of see where you're at, right? Same thing, right? But you're looking at this on a 4-hour and how they keep working you up. So there's a little bit of a difference there, right? So it does seem like tech is the place to be, but you start looking at that and going, okay, well, are we going to flip? Or are we going to do something weird? Are we going to fall down again? And obviously I don't know the answer. Nobody does, but I just think that you have to make sure that you clear this before you get goofy and start buying a lot of the ES names. That's not where I would be right now. I would be focused on cloud. Anything in the cloud space to me looks like it could absolutely rip. It's grossly underperforming. I want to focus on this one part. It's grossly underperforming. Okay. And I don't know how much longer you're going to underperform, but you have a huge channel here, or a huge DTL. That's over a year. So if you can start flipping that, you flip this smaller one, but you didn't confirm it yet. You have to close over 1835, but if you get rid of this, right, forget that level for a moment, you just come here. And let's remove this and remove here, and I'll show you this. Now, we're going to use from here over. Okay, so some people are going to say, okay, well, your base is really here. Yeah, I'm going to use this. And then what I'm going to do is just highlight these two areas and just say, you can see how we just were unable to stay above them. And I think that that's pertinent. But if you look from here over, right, and I'll change the color of this. That's your base. So if you now, let me click on this. That's not going to do it. Background, we'll make this one green and highlight that green. Great. So if you look at that, you have an enormous base and you're just setting up and you're starting, not ending, you're starting to see these names turn. Like Snow has earnings this week, right? You can't not look at the fact that you're trying to flip a higher high. You already flipped one down here. So you start looking at these going, okay, well, what names make the most sense? Well, here you are in March, you come across and you're like, okay, well, we flipped here, right? So we flipped that DTL. The confirm of that DTL and getting above and staying above is that, right? So that's what you want to focus on. So you look at that and go, well, we're fighting it. Okay, but earnings are coming out. So, and they are tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to be vicious. Absolutely vicious. So between NVIDIA, Snow, now you're seeing names hold in there. CRM, something we bought $10 ago. You're seeing names hold in there, and you're seeing certain names outperform. That's not going to go away. All I'm saying to you is you might be better off today focusing on individual names than the markets themselves, because I'm not sure that the markets are going to go anywhere today. I'm really not. You can see how ugly this is getting this morning. Every time you try to rally, they're just selling it. So I'm not convinced that that's going to stop. It just might be like this all day, rally up and then just dumping, rally up, dumping. And you're not really, I don't see you getting through any key levels yet on the upside. All I see is follow through from the sell that started with the debt ceiling news. I mean, that's all we've done. So it's really hard to sit there and go, oh, we should be buying when you're seeing, hours and hours of NASDAQ selling. Now, again, an hour is a long time. Anything can change, right? We've seen it before, so we're going to have to watch that. The other thing we have to pay attention to today, let me just share this tab. A couple things here. So these numbers are going to be absolutely huge. Today, services PMI at 945, manufacturing PMI. Okay, nobody wants to see those get decimated today. Everybody's going to want to see good numbers. They're not going to want to see bad numbers. They're not going to want to see weakness, and they're not going to want to see them off. Okay, you had 4 Fed speakers yesterday, and it scared the market. It scared the bond market. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So if you look at this, these are big, and you're going to watch those today. New home sales, they are what they are. I'm fine with the home builders. I like the home builders a lot, but I'd focus on this. But if I go back to yesterday, just to put this in perspective, 1, 2, 3, 4. What'd you have? 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Fed members, and then Logan out of Dallas spoke, right? Okay. And look at what the bond market did, right? After the auction, sold off. So they're convinced that they're going to see more selling, right? They might see a rate hike, even though the majority of people think we're going to pause. Maybe they're just saber rattling. We just don't know. But after that, people are going to watch this manufacturing PMI very closely, and then they're going to watch the service PMI. And of course, we have other data that's coming out this week that's very important. I mean, we just might as well do it while we're here and talk about it, just so you guys know, but I'm sure you guys are already aware. Now, you have the Fed minutes on Wednesday. Okay, the Fed minutes, FOMC minutes are Wednesday, okay? That's going to be big. Yellen will speak. She'll talk about how the NASDAQ and the stock market will drop 50% unless people sign this agreement. And then we will have GDP on Thursday, and we'll go from there. Initial jobless claims. People are watching. It's upticking. But people are going to watch GDP, and they're certainly going to watch PCE. So these will be big, big events. And I think it's going to start today with this 9:45 timeframe. So keep that in mind. Now, if I flip back, and again, we're down about $1.25 on Tesla. I'm long here. I'm not really sweating it. The other thing I would say is you're starting to see a little action in the miners again. They're starting to get pretty interesting. Had some people in the room playing these yesterday. I did not really get involved. But from this peak, that anchored VWAP, you're over, and now you're, pardon me, and now you're pushing. So I kind of like this trade. I kind of like Mara too. I think these are interesting. Now, overall, if we just talk about the big names, which we'll be asked about, okay, nothing is holding up better than Microsoft. Nothing. So we are grossly, overbought, but we were overbought here, okay? And we went from 317 to 350. So understand the game you're playing, but when you're overbought, that just means the velocity of the move, the magnitude of the move, rather, is going to be great. I would not sleep on that. I would not. So I would totally expect this in the next couple of months to be at new highs. We have a position in this. I see no reason that we're going to do anything with it. Now, I think that this held up better than Meta. I'm not crazy about that. So now maybe it's the first one, so you reject the first time, but you rejected, right? You did not close above that area. Let's do it this way and drill into the hourly. All right, so we'll get rid of the pre and the post. So you're rejected right up there. Now, It's not a perfect rejection because you're sitting on it, but I never made a higher high after I went over that. So I would watch that. You have this little trend line right here. You're kind of boxed in there. Now, if you break this, I mean, this is a possible target down here. So, and that can happen. We could absolutely sell down on some of these things. So I'll give you a great example. I bought Netflix yesterday, and they just swept the legs of it, right? Tries to rally, and then that's it. Boom. And never came back. And you're seeing some of that, but some of these other names are trying to hang in there. Now, this was a really nice reversal, but hold on, let me show you this going straight across. You're right against a resistance, and you're really up here. I mean, that's a big, big move on this. That's a big move on the RSI. I'm not really sure why I don't have that watermark there, but I should. It's odd. Anyway, it's Google. Let's Google. But if you look at this, I can just do it this way. Right? So you're rejecting right in here. I mean, that's a big level to watch. So I'm not really seeing the big cap names push this morning. NVIDIA has earnings tomorrow. I would say this. I mean, if you want me to find something that was good, you know, these names could have gotten absolutely decimated yesterday. I don't know what the hell was going on with this cough today. I would have thought this could have gotten absolutely decimated yesterday, and it did not. All you did was got down 307 and then rally. You know, that's a pretty interesting spot for that to rally because there's not a lot there. I mean, there really isn't. You have this right here, but I mean, do you really have anything else? What, you have the gap up breakout? I mean, what else do you really have there? Right? And it held, formed a doji, flipped the doji, and it went, and it never looked back. It's kind of, I mean, it's impressive, don't get me wrong. I'm just surprised that, you know, it did it. In the face of that, go take a look at this on a 4-hour. I mean, you're setting up a flag. Now, earnings are going to have this thing going 10%, $30 up, $30 down. So don't delude yourself. AMD is going to trade along with it. One of my larger concerns was, I'll show you these two things and then I'll take questions. So ZM, this was a good quarter, and it's not holding. So that's a concern. That should hold, and it didn't. I don't see the flaw in the quarter. I don't. I'm pretty good at reading these balance sheets, and I just don't see the flaw. So, you know, what are you going to talk about? The churn? You're going to talk about it's not a real business. Yeah, I'm not really buying any of those arguments, right? The churn was actually lower than expected. So gross margins were up, earnings were up, revenues were up, and they got it higher. So I watched that. The other thing that I'm watching is this, and I don't really like this at all. But when I ran my charts last night, every day I look at like at least 500 charts. I'm going to get rid of, let's get rid of all this data. And let's get rid of the moving average. And then we're going to go here. I'm going to add this. So we're going to add the SPY to this. Now, the purpose of me doing this is so that you can see something. You can see how this has been trading. They trade in tandem, right? It's known throughout the industry that, you know, the S&P tends to follow the utilities. And then you start seeing this, right? And then at the same time, you kind of have this. And, you know, you don't have to draw this perfectly, but you can see where I'm going with this, right? And now we're breaking down. Well, I don't know if we're breaking down because you're getting 5% in T-bills, or this is telegraphing something else, right? Because you would sell your utilities because you know you get 5% in T-bills. We just went through that, right? We were just talking about that, where you get 5% in T-bills, right? So are utilities selling down because, you know, you don't really want to buy Duke Energy for the dividend, right? I mean, is that why they're selling down? So I don't know. It's just on my radar. And this does not look like something that I would buy, right? I mean, it's not. And you can see how in October we bounced, right? And now you can just see how we're falling off a cliff. So yeah, it's a concern. I don't know if it's tied to T-bills or not, that people are just buying those versus, buying those versus buying those stocks, and then kind of go from there. But, I mean, Duke's got a 4.3% yield. So are they selling Duke, right? Are you selling Duke, right? So that you can go buy a 3-month T-bill, right? Or a 1-month T-bill. Like, that might be the question. And I don't have an answer to that. But why would I buy Duke for the dividend if I'm getting 5.52%? And, T-bills, I think, are exempt from state and local, right? So you're even getting that benefit from it, right? You're actually getting a little bit more of a benefit if you're in New York or California. So maybe that's why, right? I guess that's what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure out why. I'm just discussing it out loud. But maybe that's it. Maybe you're going out there and then you don't have state and local tax. So, it's like when you buy a municipal bond, you don't have federal tax, same thing. So, all right. So that's kind of where my head is. That is a concern of mine. A lot of people are starting to understand what AI is going to do, or they're starting to understand that it's not just going to be one area. This SDGR we traded in the community yesterday, we did quite well with it, quite well. And that is enormous volume. And I think people are just starting to understand how AI is going to benefit biotech. I don't think people truly understand this stuff yet. It's just my opinion. I think they're starting to. And this reminds me a lot of like the 90s, the mid 90s, to be honest with you. It really does, where we had rates, Greenspan cut rates. Like, I know you guys aren't going to remember this, but he cut rates, he hiked, and then he had to cut because he hiked too much. And then this new technology came out called the internet. We got a Netscape browser. None of us knew what the heck to do with it. But the purpose I'm getting at is AI is predicted to be that disruptive. And I think it's going to be that disruptive. I don't think people have a clue yet on how disruptive it's going to be, candidly. But it was just like the internet. And it's not going to be a day. It's going to be 5 years. Just understand that. So if you look at this, right, XBI, you're looking to break 91. And we know that they have a lot of holdings, right? So then you go here. So we know that IBB is more concentrated, right? So, okay, so we're more concentrated and we're up here and we're above. So the more concentration and the larger names are holding. So who would buy the larger names, right? Well, that would be institutions mostly, right? They're certainly not buying Amgen. So you start running through this, you start trying to put the pieces together. Now, I think we're getting there again on this trade. It's where I'm going with this. So this is something that we did very well with about a year ago. Well, let me put this over here, open this up. And I think we're getting there again. I still have stock from June I bought, paid $4 something for it. I'm still in. I think you're setting up here. I really do. Now, I think it's going to take a little bit more time. I think you might have to correct again, but you're getting there. And you're seeing it in all these names now. We'll have to see what happens. What else do I really want to go through with you guys? Oh, watch this UPST. I do not think this is done. I think they're going to try and squeeze the living heck out of this thing. So if we see some kind of pullback in this today, I would most certainly be watching that. If you got some kind of pullback there today, I really like that name. Now I'm going to take questions and then we'll go from there. But I really like this name, and I could go through a bunch of these other ones. Like, everybody's buying this IONQ. It could push. I mean, that's a lot of volume that came in. So my largest concern is utilities and the fact that the NASDAQ can just very simply, it's not holding anywhere, right? We're just not holding. So I have to watch some of these moves, and I really have to watch how we're acting with the, I have to watch how we're acting with the Tesla. So it is what it is. But I have a long position here. I just want to see how we do off the open. I thought we might push actually gap, but we're just not doing that. We're still 45 minutes, but it's just not looking good. If you look at the NASDAQ and what the NASDAQ's doing here, just kind of go through this. I mean, all you're doing is testing lows. That's all you're doing. That's all you've been doing if you really look at it since you started last night. So I know people are really excited about today because yesterday was great. I'm just telling you to, chill out a little bit if you want, it's up to you if you want to or not, but that's kind of how I view things. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. Let me see if I can. Pardon me 1 second. Odd. Okay. Well, let's get to some questions here and we'll go from there. What's going on? What's up, John? Let's do BLBD and TXG. BLBD. Bluebird. Yeah, that's interesting. These kinds of names, when you have the earnings, then you come back down. 1, 2, 3, fill the gap. Over. Yeah, I mean, these kinds of names are really interesting. I think you're ahead of yourself now, but yeah, I mean, could you still go? Sure, you absolutely could. I mean, they would be the levels I would watch. You have something right here too, and you kind of respected it for a day, right in there. Your volume's kind of falling off, and now you're getting into this too. So I don't know. I mean, that's probably not my kind of trade right there. I mean, this was perfect, right there. What's up, Cam? Let's do TXG. So, yeah, these kinds of names, I mean, where's my volume? That would be the only thing I would look at. I mean, chart looks great. I just don't have any volume. Well, you kind of do, don't you? You're kind of over. I don't know. I think I might want something a little more emphatic right in here, right? This is nice that you're through this. I mean, you're finally over that. You've made a decision. It's pretty clear that where you need to get to, right? So, I mean, you're definitely turning. That's there. I mean, that's something to watch. EPOL, Greek, MNDY. So, EPOL. Yeah, I mean, these names are all going to move as long as the dollar's weak. That's like insanely thin, but that could absolutely keep going. Where are we here? GREK, right? Yeah, not really sure what's going on there. Looks like you're up substantially there in the Greek market. I'm not really sure what's going on. It's not something I'd be playing with. I mean, it's not really my kind of trade. You're right into that. So, yeah, I would watch it. I mean, it's not for me. It's definitely, look, just watch that level we just marked off, Jacob. And MNDY. Yeah, I know a lot of people like this name. I kind of get this. Now, the only thing I would say that is bothersome is, and I saw this a lot, some of the software names, is you tried to break out and then you failed. And you failed not once, but you failed in a bunch of names. So you want to watch how that's going to play out. And I'm not so sure how that's going to play out right now. So I'm going to want to watch that and see. But I'm definitely not going to, to rush into that. I'd be careful there. Again, I just want to point this out. I've been saying this all morning, but you've just been selling down. All you're doing is taking out the lows. So I don't know how you're at least not testing that level that, this is your first level we talked about earlier. And you can see how you're pulling back. I mean, you've been pulling back all day. So, you're probably going to continue to, at least maybe till 9:45 in that news, and we'll go from there. So let's go from there and see how this is going to go. Now, let's keep going through some of these names. OPRA. Let's take a look at that. OPRA. Opera Limited. Why is this thing so slow today? That's gone. I mean, that's off to the races. Yeah. So, I mean, that's all you need. I mean, that's really where you're at. I mean, that's perfect. You just want that to get over there. I would think it would. I mean, I would think that would. Eventually, that's going to get over. Right? I mean, look at, you missed earnings for 5 quarters, and now you got your act together. So, yeah, that might push. Look at that volume, too. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see, volume-wise. It's exactly what you want to see. NVTS. Yeah, see a lot of action in that. A lot of questions about that. The volume is huge. These small cap little names like this, yeah, I would definitely watch that. Yeah, I mean, that's like a really easy trade too, right? So, like, you look at that bar, I mean, that's 841, right? You're at 910. So, if you crack there and you close below 841, you just don't want to be in it. I actually like that. I've been watching that this morning. I really wasn't watching it before that, but I got a lot of questions about that. Let's go here and make this a 55. See a lot of people talking about this golden cross. Let's check it out. Yeah, I mean, you did. You definitely did it. I like the volume. I like the volume a lot. So we'll take a look at that. Let me just see something here. There's another one I want to watch. I have a lot of names I want to watch today. A lot. I'm going to watch Schwab today. It seems to me, and I want to watch this IEP today. I'm not so sure that's I don't know if that's going to hold or it's going to break, but I definitely want to watch it. Yeah, I see that. I think there's something there with that NVTS. Yeah, I think that's what you're going to do. I think that's where you're heading. Just kind of like a wonky kind of down day. Maybe we're not going to get crazy. We've got the debt ceiling out there. It's one of the things I tried to put up in the newsletter or the video last night was like, you have so much negative stuff out there and we're just grinding higher. I would not sleep on this name. Just FYI, I'm getting asked about it a lot. I would not sleep on that name. I am not a fan of this company at all and the amount of shares outstanding, but the amount of options that I'm seeing in this name is absolutely insane. It is through the roof. So I would not sleep on that. Let's go through some of these. PayPal reversing. I'd be real careful there. I think that you're far away from that reversing. I'd be really careful there. Is this the first day of a possible reversal? Yeah, but that's your bounce area. I mean, you're trying to play it for $2, $3. I don't know that I would be doing that, but I guarantee you, if I look at that RSI and that MACD, I guarantee you that you definitely have turned. There's no doubt about that. So let that load in. Super slow today again. Just not really sure why. You're definitely turning. And, this has marked bottoms in the past, but it takes time. I don't know that want to be that guy, but yeah, it could work. But where are you going to get to? Long term, that'll work because Elliott Management's in there and they'll do something with it, right? That's like what got me in pins back here at 18, 19, and I actually just bought more of it in here, and it's doing just fine. I think you might gap fill eventually and get up here by next quarter. So I like that name. Yeah, I'm in a different room. I moved to another location. So I know it's echoey. I'm working on that. I'll fix it. It will be fixed, but I'm fully aware that it's echoey, and I'll take care of it. But nothing I can do about it right now. But I can hear it too. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can do something here. I don't know if that's going to make it. That might actually make it a little better. Might not. There's a lot of windows here, so I cracked the window, so maybe it won't reverb off that window. But it's definitely echoey, way more than it was before, and that's just me. There's nothing really I can do about it. This SDGR, I have a position in. I'm not doing anything with it. I scaled out, and my stop is break even on it. We'll go from there. So, yeah, I moved into it's a big place. I'll just leave it at that. Pardon me. At Oracle. I don't think it's going to lead that. Did you see the TikTok news? What they're going to do? So TikTok's going to let Oracle see everything, apparently. All the algorithms, everything. So Google, PEP to the downside. What's up, babe? Google's fine. PEP. Yeah, I think you're just starting to see selling in these names and some of the defensive names. I don't think that's going to stop, candidly. I really don't. I really don't think that's going to stop. I mean, that's absolutely insane. From my reading, you have a lot of people that are defensive in these hedge funds, and they're having a real problem with performance. So I think that's going to be a real issue, and I definitely think it's something that we're gonna have to pay attention to. So. ZM surprising to me. It is where it is. Honestly, I saw that report. Maybe it's company specific. Maybe it's company specific. Yeah, Steve, it's a big. I just moved into this place, and it's just really big, and it's like I like big spaces, and there's a lot of windows, and I'm reverbing off of it. I'm gonna have to figure it out because I hear it too. I gotta figure out. I'm gonna dead it off, or maybe I'll take one of the rooms and just make it like a spot for the computer. I gotta do something. I hear it. I'll fix it. Maybe some kind of panel or something. I don't think people truly get it. I really don't, Shane. I don't. I agree with that. I posted this on Twitter the other day, and I was trying to explain to people, like, look, okay, you're talking about a 3M nanometer chip, right? And that's what you're basing NVIDIA's price on. Okay, NVIDIA is coming out with a supercomputer, an AI supercomputer that will be on the cloud that you can rent for $37,000 a month. You have any idea what the gross margins on that are? I mean, it's gonna just take the company to another level. I don't think people understand that NVIDIA could be one of the largest companies or the largest company in the world. Like, I don't think people get that yet, how big NVIDIA could actually get. I mean, I don't know. I mean, think of all the companies that are going to want access to rent a supercomputer instead of going an AI supercomputer instead of building one. You can go spend $300,000-$400,000 a year on it, or you can go build one for tens of millions of dollars. I mean, it is going to be a layup business for them, just a layup. IEP scares me. It scares me. I'm not gonna lie. So now I've been pretty vocal about this. I've puts against my long. I mean, at that point, I'm just looking at it going, do I just pull the long? But I'm looking out pretty long term. My puts go out to December, and I'm paying the puts with my dividend. I'm going to have to wrap it up here, guys. I'm going to run through them real quick and see what I say. I just want to point out and be Captain Obvious. You're trying to turn here, but all you've done all morning, right, is just sell down since we started. That's all we've done, guys. We started here at 8:30, right, and now all we've done is sell down. That's all we're doing all morning. So maybe that changes, but for now, that's what we're doing. So just pay attention to that, and we'll go from there. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know enough about that space to answer your question, brother. I really don't know enough about diodes. I'm lucky I could spell diodes. I really don't know enough about it. I mean, it's not my kind of chart. There's a lot of noise in here, but from earnings on, you've done nothing but had buyers. That's the only thing I could tell you about it. Oh, AI, you got skipped. I'm watching that. It's on my short list, Cam. It wasn't this morning. It is now. So I'll show you my level. Right here. I'm watching that very, very closely. So this has a lot of potential. A lot. So let's see what it does. I like these kinds of trades. Remember those patterns I just went over, Cam? Up, 1, 2, 3 down. Right. So I definitely want to watch that. It's definitely on my list. I would watch that level I have there very closely. Yeah, I know. I got to get rid of it. I'm aware, and I appreciate you saying something. Always say something when it comes to computers. We all know that historically I'll be on the wrong screen. It's interesting, Ant. I saw a ton of buying in Deere on calls, and it makes sense to me, right? So I'm wondering if you're washed out here on Deere. That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, am I in that like zone, right? Like, let me show you what I mean by that. So like, there's a zone right in here, right? You could see it bonk, 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 where you're constantly fighting. Well, we just came to that zone. So are you going to hold in there and flip that doji and then just grind higher? Maybe. Now, Alta, you have earnings. And this scared the heck out of everybody in that space, just FYI. Estee Lauder scared the heck out of everybody in that space, right? So my hope with Alta is that it gets killed, and then there's something I can do with it. You're seeing it in ELF too, which you could proxy trade if it wasn't the same day, right? So kind of hard to proxy trade when, they're coming out. Okay. ELF is Wednesday. Alt is Thursday. I guess you can proxy trade. Watch ELF to see what Alt is going to do. I would just tell you this, that like, historically speaking, and then I'm going to jump. If we go through, let's take this off and I'll show you, and I'll leave you with this, Ant. And this is exactly what I would be paying attention to. And I know people are like, RSI doesn't work. Okay. But if you kind of come down to these levels, right? Let me just show you going straight across. If you come down to these levels, right, and you wanted to buy this, historically, you couldn't find a better spot to buy these, right? Like, I mean, if you just kind of go through them, they're not all going to work. I mean, we know how this works, right? That one doesn't work, the next one works, right? And then you're in this thing forever. Same thing here, right? You're going to see another one there, another one here, right? And you just see how they grind higher. It just takes time. That's called the pandemic. And you could even use this one. So you kind of go through them, and I don't know, we can use this one too. And then it moves, right? And now here we are again. So historically, if you're looking out long term, I'd wait for earnings, see what it does, and kind of go from there. They might not have great earnings, but people have been buying their beauty products. So it is what it is. So we'll see. Yeah, I think the insurance market's interesting, actually. I think this is interesting because I think they can, I mean, I feel like a broken record, man, but I think companies like this that are on the forefront can benefit from what's happening with AI. I really do. That's a very interesting chart to me. So I'll keep that in mind. I got to jump, everybody. Trade to win today.